go in here and just do a little full send. What do you reckon? Yeah, I would say sounds pretty good. Right, so firstly, I did actually record these clips earlier on the way here, but I had some rather spiteful old lady shout at me as I drove past for going 30 miles an hour and doing nothing but just talking to the camera. I think she was saying, pay attention. I had my seatbelt on, I'm driving down a private road with my phone and I'm not even touching it. It's attached to the windscreen like it is now, and it involves no lack of concentration at all. So what I'm going to do is try and give you guys as many tips as possible so that when you look into buying yourself a Focus ST, you can do it smoothly and you can do it in a way that you feel confident picking up your first car. Now, obviously not your first car. I mean, it could be your first car, but more importantly, your first 5-pot Mk2 Focus ST225. Now guys, without further ado, we're going to jump into number one. The number one most important thing that I think when you're looking for a Focus ST that you need to look out for. Ideally, if you're picking up a car and you're going to be buying one and you're paying good price for it, want to make sure that the block mod has already been done. You're looking between £600 to £800 based on where you choose to get it done. So if you can pick one up with the block mod, that will be the number one tip. Just before we go into number two, I will explain what the block mod is. Now, if you take off the top of the engine, you will find underneath the liners. Now, quite often when cars are tuned, and sometimes, unfortunately, when cars aren't tuned, people can crack the liner. Well, then what that's going to mean is you're going to need a complete rebuild and you're going to have to start from scratch. But for obvious reasons, getting a block mod, either when you've got your car already, look at booking yourself in, or if you're looking at picking one up, block mod is something you want to be seeing on the itinerary when you read the sale advert. Now, number two, the most important thing that I think, aside to the block mod, that needs to be done to your car, either now or on the sale advert, what you're going to want to look for is drive shafts. Now, drive shafts are drive shafts, we get it, but there are also a lot of people that don't know much more than just the word drive shafts. Now, into your gearbox go the drive shafts, and the drive shafts is what generates the torque that goes through your wheels. So obviously when you have a highly modified car, that torque is going through the drive shafts. Naturally, if your drive shafts are poor quality, what's the first thing that's going to happen? It's going to break. So what you don't want to be doing is skimping out when fitting drive shafts. Now also, I can understand that a lot of you don't actually have an ST yet, and obviously you're looking into it. Now what you are going to want to do is check that one of two things have been done. Either the previous owner has installed new drive shafts, because if it were me, I wouldn't want to be buying a car that hadn't had any drive shafts replaced in ownership. Now, the law of averages would say that if you then buy that car, you're going to have to be replacing the drive shafts with your own money. Now, ideally, you don't want to be doing that. So what we're going to want to look out for is, ideally, the drive shafts included in the car that you're going to be picking up, a genuine Ford. It's the most important thing that it's genuine Ford. There is talk of uprated drive shafts. Look, you've got the Dream Science S6s and you've got the S9s. But seeing as I haven't used them, that's not something I can push on to you. I have heard good things about the Dream Science S9s, but I'll tell you now, for someone that is not only involved in a forum, but at least 10 Mk2 Focus ST specific forums, it's important to you that the drive shafts are genuine Ford. Genuine Ford drive shafts in your Focus ST are way better, so I've heard. Don't take this for fact, because don't get me wrong, this is just experience that I've picked up on. Genuine drive shafts are way better than anything else. We've been through number one, you want to make sure that your car's got block mod. We've been through number two, which is the drive shafts. And now we're going to swiftly move on to number three. Now guys, before we go ahead with number three, it's important for me to voice to you that these aren't facts, all right? These things are things that I've experienced, the people that are in my crowd, the people that I talk to, the people I socialize with that also have Focus STs. These are things that we've been through. So they're only tips that I can push to you as advice, not fact. I'm not reading this out of the Focus ST Haynes manual. This is just things that I've learned, and that's what's most important. Right guys, so definitely number three, in my opinion, is mileage. Now, certain cars, as you know, can be purchased at higher mileages with less worry, and certain cars are in their prime rather in a lower mileage. So I purchased this, I recall, at 73,000 miles for £4,200. Whether that was a rip-off, I don't care, because I'm now in a position working on YouTube where this is something that I love and I'm super passionate about. But what I wanted to talk about was, it's hard to explain, there's no phrase that explains this, but certain cars, let's say for example you buy a Focus ST at 0 miles, brand new, out of the showroom in 2007, for example. So you purchase that car, and the parts within the car, say the clutch, the brake pads, the brake discs and so on, the need for servicing and everything else that you can imagine. Now they all have a certain lifespan, or a life expectancy, so to speak. So what's going to be super important is that you try and work out what mods have been done and what servicing has been done and at what mileage. So if we look at, obviously I know that you guys can see the screen from here to here. So if we look at the bottom, a brand new car, and then we look at say 40,000 miles. Now the chances are within that time frame, not a lot of upgrades are going to have been done. Now I don't necessarily mean modifications, fancy exhaust, crossover pipes, induction kits, but more importantly, the parts that wear, has the previous owner needed to do it? Most likely what happens is you have a car from new, you take it within that span of your enjoyment and then you sell it. Now, quite often, the person at this level that chooses to sell their car, now because they purchased their car from new, by the time they've got to this point at 40,000 miles, those maintenance jobs were never needed. They were either covered by warranty or they just happened to last long enough. So quite often in the instance that someone sells a car lower mileage, you can quite often be in a position where that lower mileage car is actually in need of a lot of work, but say the previous owner didn't know. So for example, if you do buy that car and it is low mileage, so, like I was saying, if you buy that car and it is low mileage, you want to make sure that within the service history, ideally, certain things have been done. So, for example, servicing, super important. Brakes, all the kind of things that you would expect to see. So little things like drop links, drive shafts, brake discs, brake pads. Have they been replaced? Do they need replacing? Because it's all good getting a car that's low mileage, but if none of those servicing things have been done, then you'll be left in a position where you've got a car with 42,000 miles on it, but you're now in need to do drive shafts, you're now in need to do servicing, you're now in need for new brakes, fixing holes in the exhaust and so on. So quite often, buying a modified car at say 80,000 miles that's had an enthusiast, for example, like myself looking after it, all those things have been done. So when you're paying £6,000 for a car, you might think, oh, there are cars at 4,500 that are cheaper, that are standard. But you've got to try and work out from a sensible standpoint when buying your car what's actually going to benefit you. If you have 150 grand sat in the bank and you've got no kids and you don't need to do anything but throw that money up the wall, buy whatever car you want, because those mods you're going to do, you don't care for money. Most likely your value for money is pretty poor as well. But for real people like myself, when buying a car, you've got to take these things into account. You do not want to be buying a car and then within 2 months paying half of its value in upgrades, not even including modifications. I bought this car completely standard with full service history. The book was about this thick and it's only got this much thicker now since I've been doing all the upgrades. So that's one thing that I've learned. Now, if I haven't voiced that in the right way, to put that into context, just because you're buying a car with lower miles, don't think that that's in better condition. You want to make sure that you're checking it all properly, and if need be, if you're shy or maybe lacking in knowledge in terms of cars in general, take someone that knows what they're doing. It's not hard to ring one of your friends that knows about cars and get him to go look at the car when you look at purchasing. If you're not going through a dealership and you're doing a private sale, yes, you'll most likely save some money, but use it to your advantage. Take a friend that knows about cars. If you need to give me a ring and I'm local to you, not that I know everything, but I'm going to know more than someone that doesn't know anything, take someone along with you and you'll be in a better position. Right guys, so number four is regarding the actual cracked liner thing that we mentioned earlier. Check the color of the smoke. Turn the car on, let it idle, and make sure that it's clean. Now, what I mean by clean is that it doesn't look dodgy. So normal smoke looks like steam. You know, it's going to come out at a normal rate. It's going to come out of both exhaust tips. It's going to feel healthy. It's not going to sound, it's not going to sound straight. Like, I'm waiting for someone to clip that video and send it to me on Instagram. What I mean by that is that you don't want blue smoke, because what that's going to do is indicate a cracked liner, and that means that the person has either not done block mod, or they've done it, still cracked a liner, and they've tried to sell the car onto you hoping that you wouldn't know. So like I said, the premise behind these kind of videos is that when you're in a position, when your friend's in a position, or a family member's in a position that they want to buy a car like this, they can then refer to this video when buying the car of their dreams, hopefully in this instance the Mk2 Focus ST, else why would you be on this video? But open this video up when you're looking at buying a car, so that if you are on your own and you are lacking in knowledge, you can one by one check through these things to make your sale go that much more smoother, and hopefully you'll be investing your money and not wasting it. So guys, we've done number 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I can remember rightly, we have done block mod, drive shaft, mileage, and blue smoke potentially coming out the exhaust, basically showing you that you've most likely got a cracked liner. Number 5 is the boost gauge. Now, the boost gauge should sit at halfway, and you don't want it all over the place after that. This actually goes really well to point with something that happened to me when I picked up my car. Now, I would boost, and it would hit turbo, you'd feel it hit turbo, then it would stop, and then it would kick in again. And I actually remember ringing Sam Harrington. Now, Sam Harrington is the boy when it comes to Focus STs. He's the one that featured on Jamie FYD's channel with the all-wheel drive converted Focus ST, and he has since done another one. Now, someone like him, obviously, if he gives me information or any tips regarding the ST, I'm going to take that a lot more seriously than, say, just a randomer on a forum. Now, someone like Sam, the reason I respect him is he's gone out and done the work himself. He's jumped out of his comfort zone in order to make his position better. Number 5 was boosting. You want to make sure the coil packs are checked, you want to make sure that it's running smoothly, and ideally make sure the spark plugs are done too. Now, if boosting is also still a problem, you can do things like check the MAF sensor. You can, well, to be fair, sensors in general, there's quite a few things you can do just to make sure that your situation is improved. Now, in this particular car, it's tuned by Bevo, it's just epic. I love it, absolutely love this car, but I'll shut the windows, even though it's like a greenhouse in here, and we'll swiftly move on to number 6. Now, rust. Any car you look for, especially cars that are older, you're going to experience rust. But these cars, in certain places, especially in the arches, have been known to deal with a lot of rust. I'm very lucky. Obviously, the subframe themselves have got sort of outer rust, which can be treated, and I'm going to be treating that down the line. We're going to completely seal the bottom end of the car, but it's something to look forward to. But it's definitely something to look for, because you, even as a non-car person, can look under the car and look for rust. It's not difficult. It feels really rough to the touch. It's probably shitty looking brown, and I can imagine your car's probably in a bad way if it's covered in rust. So obviously that's an easy one, number 6, swiftly moving on to number 7. Now these last 4, number 7, 8, 9 and 10, are going to be more from my personal experience, things that I'm going to suggest that I would advise that you maybe had done before you pick up your car, or maybe if you have a car now, things I would advise doing as soon as possible. So number 7 is going to be the Symposer. To those of you that don't know, Symposer is a pipe that comes from the engine effectively into the cabin, giving you fake turbo noise. To be fair, it's probably wrong to say it's fake turbo noise, but it's giving you synthetic sound that's coming into your engine bay. Now, I didn't like that, so I removed the Symposer straight away, bunged it off, got a Jubilee clip, held it in place, and obviously now that's why I get a lot of the noises that I get from my engine bay. But I just thought that it's something that I've heard goes wrong quite often. So if you get the choice, remove the Symposer, do the Symposer delete, and you'll be that much closer to being onto a winner. Now, number 8. Number 8 to me is something that I've dealt with. It's been documented well on the channel, and that's engine mounts. So when my drive shafts went, the first thing I did was try and work out why I was getting this horrific vibration under boost through the steering wheel. I did everything I could think of to try and eliminate that, and although I was very lucky to find a way through that, but at the same time document it, so if you all go through the same issue, you're in a position to follow along. But getting that wobble was an absolute pain in the ass. But aside to replacing drive shafts, lower control arms, something that I'm really grateful for doing, which is the answer to number 8. Number 8 is definitely engine mounts. Now obviously the engine mounts were one of the things that I did to try and combat the wobble, because when I replaced my lower control arms and replaced my drive shafts and did a few other things, the engine mounts were on the list to guarantee that there was no more vibration, to guarantee that everything was working together in a healthy way. Now, most importantly, the one underneath the gearbox literally sat right below me now, which I replaced with the AirTech one, which is bright yellow. I think you can see me holding it in the thumbnail on the video if you go and look hard enough. That one allows you to put power to the ground more efficiently. So why would you not want to replace it? But again, when you replace the one on the bottom of the gearbox, you're then left with 2 standard ones. So it made complete sense to me to contact Hard Race and install the other 2 in the engine bay. So now I have 3 uprated engine mounts, which I can now assure there is no vibration. Although they say that when you stiffen them up, you will feel a bit of vibration. You don't, you didn't, it feels epic. The car feels more planted, it puts the power down more efficiently. So that is why I think number 8 should be the engine mounts. Now that leaves me with 2 more. I've got number 9 and I've got number 10. It's important to me again that I voice to you the ones that I think work for me, and that, you know, going through trial and error that I've gone through, what can I do to try and help you guys out And hopefully these last two are things that you will benefit from. Now, number 9 is actually going to be one that I'm going to find quite difficult to talk about, not because it's upsetting, because it's something I don't feel I know a huge amount about. I plan to educate myself on it in the future, but there's no harm for you guys to hear about it so you can do your own research. Now, I'm pretty sure, I'm under the impression there is something to do with the reasoning behind getting an oil catch can. Now, it's something that I'm planning on doing on the car myself, but at the same time, I was also advised that there was something done to my car before I had it that prevented the need for me to do it myself. Something to do with the oil filter housing specifically that needs to be looked at. So if you can get the know-how that I clearly haven't got, then do the research and hopefully that will benefit you. Oh, sure. Now guys, we're going to swiftly finish off with number 10, and number 10 has a lot of reasoning as to why it's here, but more importantly as to why it's at the end of the video. Because I don't so much as see it as a tip, but I see it as something that's quite important regarding any modified car, but more specifically the Mk2 Focus ST, or I suppose the Mk2 Focus RS. The amount of times I've had questions, how expensive is it to drive the ST? Is it actually good on fuel? Should I have it as a daily? Should I get it? Is it as much fun as everyone says? Now, let me answer this in one simple way. A 2.5 litre 5-pot Volvo engine with a turbo on it that was driven by Clarkson on the Top Gear test track and labelled the ASBO, at what point would you buy that car and think that it was for anything other than smiles per miles? Now, as cliche as it sounds, guys, YOLO. You only live once. Now, as embarrassing as a phrase that is to use, it's so true. Think about it. You are on this earth for your experience from day one to day whenever. So what I look at, and I try and assess this with any opinion or any decision that I make in life, is can I have the best experience possible and can I afford it? So if you're in the market for an ST and you can afford it and you want one and it's your heart telling you I would love to have a car like that, just do it, full send. What is stopping you? Like, no disrespect to you, I understand that you have to work in a family environment, you often share money. I'm not a family man myself, I don't have kids, but in this particular instance, this car is epic. A ton of STs that I've been in are epic. If you want one, go and do it. You're not going to regret it. Make sure you get a right one. Listen to some of the tips that I've said about in this video today. Look at some other videos online as well, as there are plenty of other Focus ST YouTubers. So you've got 03 Anno, Modified Central, and you've also got Lordy ST. Go look at their videos. They offer just as much tips as I do. But like I said, guys, you do not buy a Focus ST for fuel economy. You buy it for absolute ASBO fun. It's incredible to drive. It's just amazing. Like, this car is insane. I reckon we should just go in here and just do a little full send. What do you reckon? Yeah, I would say sounds pretty good. Not gonna lie. Focus STs are for the win. Now guys, we've already established that the Mk2 Focus ST is a really cool car. If you want one, go out and get one. You only live once, full send, go out and have the best time possible. And if you don't want one, go marry a Karen, because you're not the type of person for me. So for now, thank you for watching. Smash a like on the video if you haven't already. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. GCM, roll the outro. Peace.